And we back, baby cakes, with another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. Surfing the web. What a phrase. Surfing the web. You have the internet that comes along in the 90s, and there is a handful of aphorisms built around this new behavior of surfing the internet, surfing the net, the web. And Swami will say this in different lectures that he has never been caught in the web. We're all caught in the web. He'll also use the same play on words with a cell phone and say, you're all living in cells. He's never owned a cell phone, never had an email, and never been caught in the web. The web, not meaning the internet in this play on words, but the web of attachment and involvement. This attachment and involvement, I should correct myself. There was a time before enlightenment for him. Which gets us into a discussion on time and when time ends for an individual. So that I will table for another episode because that's its own topic. But because how can you talk about when time ended for an individual? They wake up. When you wake up, there is no before your awakening. There is no before the realization. That would put the awakening in time. That should get its own. That is a great prompt for an episode. And it's discussed very logically in Vedanta treatise. And so I will table that. Maybe next episode I'll discuss the concept of awakening in the midst of time. But back to the topic at hand around being caught, involved, attached to the world around us. This philosophy calls us to surf the web, so to speak, to surf it, glide on top of it, but not get stuck in the web. Surfing here in Malibu is best done when you find a rail on a nice wave. You're locked in, but you are gliding. Almost frictionless, gliding, dancing on top of the water. The opposite of getting detonated by a massive wave. It's the same wave, and yet you're riding the power. It's almost like you become concurrent with the power of the wave. Like a currency of energy running through a wire, not getting tripped up, not getting destroyed by it, but just flowing. Surfing the web. What is the cost of getting caught up in the web? Can it be that bad to get attached to our career, our identity, our relationships? One of my older brothers, I remember him telling me this a few years ago, that being attached to their family pet when they lost it, it was a moment of bonding with the family. No doubt there can be short-term benefits to attachment, obsession. I remember in my last company in my 20s, 7 days a week, 12, 13, 14 hours a day. That worked really well in the first few months. But our bodies are not meant to be stressed for 6, 7, 8 months in a row, much less 6 years in a row. I was so burnt out by the end. One of my favorite startup books is What Got You Here Won't Get You There. The concept being that what gets you to this first, second, third base might be the very things that keep you from actually getting to the goal. What you've set out for yourself might actually burn you out. A controlling nature, obsession over every little aspect, maniacally overseeing everybody's work around you. Just saying it out loud, there's no wonder it burned me out and burned people around me completely out during those 6 years. I had to spend like 18 months just getting back to myself after we sold that company. Barely, by the skin of our teeth, barely sold that company. This surfing the web takes the long view that, yeah, you might have some short-term benefits by attachment to another person, to an idea, to a career goal, to a financial milestone. And it could easily motivate you for a few weeks, maybe a few months. But that obsession, that attachment, the same goes for an attachment to a wave. I'll never forget the smile on my 8-year-old nephew's face when he was lifted up by a big wave coming over the falls here, the beach here in Malibu, and his smile until it completely destroyed him. It was all fun and games for about 5 feet up into the air, and then it came crashing down so unexpectedly in a beach break when he was 8 years old, and he had no idea what was about to happen. Attached to the wave, attached to anything. For any of us that get attached to needing things to be a certain way, to an outcome, to certain relationships, we can't stop texting that person, checking in, seeing if they like us as much as we like them. Attachment to a work project where you push people away. All of these things can seem like they're working for a little while. And then it blows up in our face. Within this philosophy, attachment will lead to agitation. Not might lead to agitation, will lead to agitation. Said more bluntly by the sage Ramatirtha, whatever you are attached to, you will lose. He said it in another way at another speech. He said, attach, you lose, detach, you gain. So that's even more help in figuring out how to gain whatever we're seeking, detach from it. Cultivate a healthy detachment. From needing things to be a certain way, from a relationship going a certain way, a milestone, professional or personal. A healthy detachment from needing it to happen in some obsessive way and seeing what happens after that becomes more likely. It seems paradoxical, but that result then becomes more likely versus an obsessive attachment, making that result less likely over time. Ramatirtha spoke all around the U.S. in 1902 and 1903, and in one of the other speeches on this topic, he talked about how whatever you are attached to, you will lose. Whatever you're attached to, you will lose. The thing that you obsess about, you will lose. It sounds quite dire, but I remember in the first few years of our marriage to my wife, I was always checking it, so insecure. I was building a company and so stressed doing that I'd come home and require superhuman levels of just affection and love and security and validation that it was completely pushing her away. When I started to find some self-reliance and self-sufficiency, some flow and groove in the work that I was doing without attachment, honestly, when I started to study this philosophy, our relationship started to blossom in unbelievable ways that every year, I can't believe we've been married now 12 years, and I can't believe it gets better and better each year, especially knowing how hard the first 5-6 years were. Surfing the web, whether it is literally opening up your phone and jumping into social media, any number of websites, or whether it is just cruising through life, recognizing, all right, this is meant to be surfed. I'm not meant to get caught within it. Recognizing that this is a web built to catch us. The average American subjected to 3,000 advertisements a day, built to catch you. That fun little internet phrase from the 90s captures this principle so beautifully. Be in the world, not of it. Be in the world, but not of it. Surf the web, but don't get caught. All of the fun is in gliding, dancing upon it all, but not sticking to any of it. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. And one little postscript is that when it comes to detachment, a healthy detachment and human relationships, in the West, where we are unfamiliar with these kinds of concepts, one could easily hear that and think, oh, you should be cold and isolated and reserved from others around you. And the clarification there is not at all. You should be self-sufficient. You should feel yourself, feel useful, feel complete without needing these three other people constantly giving you validation. This spouse constantly giving you validation. This boss constantly giving you these votes of confidence, these points of validation. The more self-sufficient we are, a detachment from needing things from other people, the more useful we become. The opposite end of that spectrum, as I say often when talking about attachment in relationships, is the friend that is so needy, so attached to the group, that is kind of a bummer to be around, constantly needing things from the group. The opposite of the needy friend is the self-sufficient friend. That is the friend that you love asking for advice on this, and this, that feels like they have all the answers to what are the best X, Y, Z, that has so much time to spend with you on anything you're dealing with because they have their shit so together that they're maximally useful. They also don't come across as super attached, needing the relationship to go a certain way, needing certain bits of validation from you. That is the healthy, detached individual. That is the lighthouse for the group of friends. The unhealthy, attached, desperate, needy individual that needs those group of friends to do certain things in certain ways, that individual is damn near dead weight for the group of friends. Who doesn't want more of the lighthouses in their groups? Who doesn't want to become more of the lighthouse to your group, to your family? That's what this philosophy calls us to become. Lighthouses, not obsessive, insecure individuals with attachment issues. Not cold, reserved, isolated, and miles away from everybody. In it, but not of it. In the water, riding the wave, surfing the web, but not caught up in it. We'll see you next time.